The way I described it to you, Robbie, is that it was a bucket list item that I didn't know was a bucket list item until one, I was there, and certainly afterwards reflecting on it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Whole Story Podcast. Jonathan, how are we doing today?
And we're good. We got to hang out with our good buddy Brandon. Normally it's on a golf course, but just as good to hang out with him and talk about all the golf that he's played and all the places that we have traveled together.
Yeah, it's fun to hang out with him because he makes a comment. He's like, I feel like I hang out with you guys all the time, but it's y'all talking to me as you interview your guest, because he is probably number one fan, number one supporter of Best Ball and what we're doing. Very thankful, besides our families, of course. But he, just great friend. Love playing golf with him. Love hanging out with him. And so we had a good conversation. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. The thing about Brandon, and if you know him, if he's sharing this out to everybody, he is just as genuine as he sounds. He has been nothing but gracious to both of us and Best Ball. I mean, he mentioned, I always want to say long time listener, first time caller. And we talk about it though, like, hey, if you're out there and you're listening to us and you think you've got some interesting golf stories, let's have that conversation, because that's what we're here for. And he definitely has some interesting ones, some fun places. His Ryder Cup tour, that's awesome. Like, to sort of fall into that, that's a pretty good time. So hopefully you'll enjoy his stories as much as we have. And we've heard him before, so even then it was just as good to chat with him.
Yep. Well, we talked about, he went with me to Landmand this year for the cooler. So talked about his experience there. I was excited to introduce that to him because he had heard us talking about it nonstop. But we talked about Carne and his travels over in Ireland. And then we talked a good bit about Old Barnwell. Of course, that means a lot to him, means a lot to us.
Yeah.
And so I think you guys will enjoy this episode. Many thanks to our friends at Summit Golf Brands. Brandon did mention that he was in Old Barnwell. It started pouring rain. His son needed rain gear, and he thought, you know what? Robby and Jonathan talk about zero restriction all the time. He got Old Barnwell logoed zero restriction golf gear. And so he's excited about that. He said it worked very well. So his son was happy. Yeah. So many thanks to those guys. If you are like Brandon and you need rain gear, or if you need some excellent golf polos or outerwear, check out Beadratty, zero restriction, fairway and green. And if you use BestBall 20, you can save 20% there. Also, thanks to Western Birch. Again, we talk about these guys all the time. We scatter our logoed golf tees everywhere. You can customize your own golf tees with any colors you want. Order those at westernbirch.com. And if you use Best Ball, you'll get a free gift with your order. But this one is a special episode just because he's a good friend. I think you guys are going to like it. It's our guest, Brandon Smith. Y'all enjoy. All right, today's guest, Mr. Brandon Smith. Brandon, this might be a little awkward for you. I know most of the time you are listening to Jonathan and I talk to a guest. But now when you listen to this one in your truck, you will be on the other end of the interview. How do you feel about that?
It's, glad to be here. First time, long time. No, but there is, I kind of know the format. So, I've got to think to make sure I don't tank your ratings for all the people that will be, tuning in. Hopefully I don't skip this episode, right?
No,
you're our only listener, so as long as you listen to yourself, we're good. Like,
I'll listen twice then.
There we go.
we're gonna tap the North Carolina market, the Dartmouth market. I mean, this one's gonna reach a whole new audience for us.
That's right, and then they'll never come back.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll like Brandon. Not too sure about these other guys.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, as you know, we ask everybody before we get into kind of just the meat of the questions and stuff we have. We want to hear about how you got started in golf. Like, I know you played football and everything else growing up, but was golf a thing growing up as well?
It really wasn't. No one in my family golfed, except, the story where I kind of probably got the bug playing when I was younger was my grandpa. So he's a retired captain in the Navy. He flew in the Pacific campaign and in World War II. And so my first memory of golf is he lived up on Lake Kiowee, moved there in the kind of the mid 80s, would be going up there, and he would sneak me on to play probably, 2 or 3 holes with him. And I couldn't have been more than, probably 8 or 9 years old. But that's a memory that really kind of stuck in my mind, and it probably was the seed that got me interested in golf. I never, in high school played a little bit, but I always say I played a lot of I played football, baseball, basketball. And I always say I was never a good enough athlete to play golf and baseball at the same time, because I think everything that's good in the golf swing is bad for baseball and vice versa. So I was never that good to be able to make that shift. And so I would think it would be really business school, which that's such a unique time. I went to Keenan Flagler at Chapel Hill, and had come from investment banking, all of a sudden had a lot more free time, particularly your second year at business school, and played a lot of golf up at the Finley Golf Course up at Chapel Hill, which is a phenomenal. And I thought I was getting pretty good at golf at that point. And by that, I mean, maybe broke 80, maybe once while I was in business school, but could see the trend and was getting excited about golf. Well, the problem is I went back into investment banking and also had 3 kids under the age of 3. What the difficulty in golf for me, and a bad part of my relationship with golf, was during that time, because I still had expectations, but I was never playing and I was never practicing. We'd go on these closing dinners with clients to Pebble or to Pinehurst a couple times and down in Scottsdale, and have these expectations that my ability was not matching. And so it's very frustrating at that point. And I'd say where I am currently with golf is probably the last 6 or 7 years. As the kids have gotten older, coaching duties have kind of have diminished, and well, now we're empty nesting. They're all out of the house. That spend a lot more time with golf. But I did make a promise to myself that going through, if I was going to take this up, and you guys know we spend a lot of time playing golf. I'm passionate about it. I have fun. I work to get better. But if I stop having fun, if I go back to that place where, I'm thinking about throwing clubs or getting angry or caring a lot about a score that dictates whether I had a good day or a bad day, I'm going to go find something else to do. And so I'm trying to keep that balance right now, but it all really goes back to my grandfather and playing a few holes up at Lake Kiowee that kind of planted the seed from.
I was going to ask, and you kind of alluded to it, as most people or most folks that are probably listening to this trying to figure out, like, when am I going to have the time to finally get to where I think my golf game should be? Whether that's realistic or not. You mentioned, last 5 or 6 years, right? Your kids are grown up, but for anybody that's played with you do take it seriously. Like, you have lessons, you practice, you have an absolute amazing pre-shot routine. I don't think I've ever seen anyone pull a club back slower in your backswing, but you do it every time and the ball goes so far. Like, Robby and I hope that someday when we grow up to be you, that we can hit the ball as far as you do. So,
well, Jonathan, when you have 742 swing thoughts, that is a lot to process on the way back before you can actually try and swing the club. So, yeah, I'm not sure that's a good thing, but the A-type meticulous nature of myself, it kind of comes out in my pre-shot routine for sure.
When did you make that? When did you feel like you finally had some freedom to make that shift? More for, I guess, the person, again, listening, it's like, I used to love golf. I used to be good at golf. And there's this 10 years of my life or 15 years of my life where it's just not available. What was that journey? Because you've taken that journey as a father, as a husband. And now, I mean, we're going to talk about all the places you get to go play soon. So let's talk about the places you didn't get to play for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, I think it's unique to each individual. I mean, we all have different demands on our times and what we put on our plate. And I don't want to say I prioritize golf over I do prioritize golf over certain things, but it's not the most important thing in my life. I mean, thank the Lord I don't feed my family by trying to play golf, because that would be a miserable pressure and everybody would be very hungry. But I think it's what's important to you, and where you want to spend your time. I always think about, with 24 hours in a day and you got to sleep this many, and let's say, you eat 3 times a day, that's this amount of time for meals, and then you work this time, you have to exercise. So you end up really, most people end up with really like maybe 3 to 4 hours, 2 to 3 hours a day of what you can fill it with. So what do you want to do with that? And so demands on the family side have lessened. I've been able to increase that a little bit more. And it's just a place that it's time that makes me happy. Like, I'm as happy on the range as I am going and playing some great course. There are times that I'll leave the house at, early in the morning, and I'll go to the range and I'll limit myself to 25 minutes kind of on the way to work. So I'm not robbing or stealing from work or family or anything. It's just a little bit of carved out time. And it's just little things like that can, and it's what you enjoy. But a lot of people, if that's not what you enjoy, they don't like being on the range or practicing, or, for me, I have to practice chipping a lot, and I still not very good at it, but it's where I spend a lot of time, but I enjoy working on it. So it's, to me, it's just where your enjoyment is.
Well, as someone who's gotten to play a lot of golf with you, which I really appreciate, I do see you having fun with every part of it. And so that is what I appreciate. We've all played with people that take it way too seriously. And I think, like you've alluded to, like family demands, work demands, everything else. We're not getting paid to play golf. Like, we should have fun with it, because it is, at the end of the day, a game, right?
It is. And I think about it, even when I was playing football and in baseball and stuff, and I would watch the professionals, NFL, MLB. And I know y'all's baseball background. Do you ever look at those guys on TV and say, oh, I could do that? I'm going to go out I'm going to start working on my velocity, and think that you can throw like those guys can, or field the ball like they can. But I find that people with golf, because it's a sport we all can play, and you can play in your later years. We watch the best people on the planet doing this on a weekend, and we think we can hit the same shots. You watch them with their chipping and the way they loft the ball in the air, the way they can stop it, or the way they can just control the spin, and things that we can't do, we can try. But if your expectation is set by what you see on the TV, I think it's the only sport that people do that. So like, oh, I can do that. And I think can mar some people's experience. And so, that's what I tell myself all the time is, you see these incredible shots, but doesn't mean you can do them. You might every once in a while, but not.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like, if you put me on a football field, there's nothing that I can do that a football player does. I've been to a professional game. I've never seen such large grown men move so fast.
It's unbelievable. Every year it gets worse. And
I played baseball through college, and yet I know, like, my ball still doesn't go 90 miles an hour or 100 miles an hour across the infield, or, there's no way I could hit a 96 mile an hour slider followed up by a 84 mile an hour changeup. But in my head, at least once or twice, I've hit a golf shot that resembled a professional's golf shot. So you get this like taste, and you think, oh, wait a minute. As Robby and I always like to say, I think I figured something out. And so you like, maybe that's part of the unreal expectations, right? Because we see what we don't see, though. And this is the crazy part. I think social media has helped in this. Whenever you get to see like Dustin Johnson go out there, and they'll grab a ball and they're like, hit this ball and tell us how far it went. And he's like, oh, that went 148. And then all the readings and meters and everything, they're like, yeah, it went 148.2. Like, I can't do that. I mean, I'm with a rangefinder. I'm lucky if I can hit it to where it's supposed to go. So,
well, we also, when we're watching it on TV, and I joke with Archie all the time, like, when they cut to somebody that hadn't been a part of any of the coverage, it's going to be a good shot, right?
That's right.
Like, hey, we're going to Bill on hole number 12. I'm like, all right, this is going to be good. Like, they don't show Bill's other, 75 shots that did not go so well. So,
yeah.
Anyway, no, I think managing expectations is the key. And that's, something I think we all struggle with at times, because we expect more of, especially like if you feel like you've been playing well and then all of a sudden something flips, like Brandon saw recently, where you play a lot of golf, then all of a sudden the body starts getting tired and the swing changes and things don't go to plan. But anyway,
should have
But
put
that was
everything
a
in your left
testament,
pocket.
Robbie. I mean, that was a kind of a round and a half, I think, that was, a struggle, and we've all been there. And my philosophy when I see that happening to a playing partner is just try and stay positive, but stay out of the way. I certainly don't know enough about a golf swing to be like, hey, have you tried this? Like, but you're a testament to your, and kind of the mantra of best ball and the whole story is just the experience and having a good time. Is while you were frustrated, your ability just to stay in the moment, to still have fun, to still keep slogging through it when it wasn't the most fun you've ever had on a golf course is, you're kind of living what you're preaching. So it was still very enjoyable, but I felt for you, man. I know. I've been there.
I know when you say stay out of the way, you meant 45 degrees to the right.
Well, 90 degrees, yeah, 45.
Hey, Brandon, don't stand right there. Heads up.
Get behind the golf cart.
I mean, I had the same thing happen, and it was worse for me. Earlier this year, I wanted to play Bethpage, and I took a group. I didn't take, but organized a group to go up and play Bethpage, and Nick Schreiber, the owner of Old Barnwell, was along on that trip, and we were just having a great time. But I got, and I'll say it because I'm not, I don't think it jinxes me, but I was shanking the ball. It started on that little range, and I couldn't figure it out. And I almost decapitated Nick about 3 times during that round. And it's that 45 degree off the right to where finally I had to tell everybody in my group that I did not want anybody standing on my right when I was swinging, just so it wasn't in my mind. It's the worst feeling in the world. And you're like, oh, I guess, I don't know. I guess I'm presenting the hosel, or am I supinating when I could be pronating, or I don't know what I'm doing, but it's not safe.
Add a few more swing thoughts in there, yeah.
186 on that round, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we talked about it. Let's jump into this. Like, one of the things I love hearing stories about where you've gone to play, and you've taken me, and you've helped Jonathan and I experience a couple of these things. But you've also, I was able to take you to Landmand. So let's talk about your experience at Landmand, because I know, like you said, Robbie, I hope you didn't oversell this thing, and I want to hear like your initial impressions and kind of the overall, what did you think of Landmand?
I think, well, first, talking about priorities and everything, I have to thank Jonathan. As a semi-retired, you've loaded your plate on with so many responsibilities that I was able to fill your spot this year because of the demands upon your time. So thank you for that. And it was one of those things that I had heard y'all talk about this for the last 2 years. And it sounded like a great experience and a really just kind of cool, shutting the courts down, a group of just kind of golf enthusiasts, and just go round and round and round, and on a pretty neat course, out in Homer, Nebraska. So that's kind of where I left it. But as I talked to more people, and they're talking about going to Landmand, it really started to pique my interest in the anticipation. And I guess the way I described it to you, Robbie, is that it was a bucket list item that I didn't know was a bucket list item until I was there, and certainly afterwards reflecting on it. And it, and I was thinking, what's so special about it? One, it's the grand scale of the course. And the way, some of the designers have talked about it who are out there is like, we can't put a small green and a small bunker out here because you can see for about 7 miles. So if you put a regular sized green, it's just not really going to fit with the landscape. But beyond just being large it's just a fun course to play. There's so many different types of holes that I would go back to, and I'll probably get all the hole numbers incorrect, but 17 is a drivable par 4. You go back to the Redan, which is not something I know about. I'm not a golf architecture guy. I mean, Robbie had to explain Redan to me for about the first 3 rounds we went through, what makes a Redan a Redan. But
I always thought it was a French artist.
Aiming out to the, throw it over here, let it roll down. And just the uniqueness of how to play the hole. So it's not just like a big bomber, just go out and hit it. And I can attest, it's not like you're always going to find your ball. Grass eats it up. So, that's the kind of the course part of it, but the people and I mean, and really, I think courses like this, and you go to Sweetens, and I'll throw Old Barnwell in there too. It's the leadership from the top down that creates the experience. And so Will and his family are certainly the impetus for what Landmand is. But my experience was the night before the cooler started. Robby and I drove in, and he's like, "Oh, there'll be a few people here, just kind of meeting before it really starts tomorrow." And we pull in the parking lot, and there's probably 20, 25 people standing around cars and just talking, catching up, hadn't seen each other in a while. And I get out of the car, and I'm not 4 feet away. I've been taking 2 steps on property, and I had about 4 people come up to me and introduce themselves and just want to talk. And it was Jeff Birch. It was his parents that were there, and Will came over, and it was the most welcoming I've felt, like walking into a course in this whole, or anything outside of golf, just a new group where I'm the outsider. And that just set the tone for the whole week. I mean, everybody who we played with and ran into was an incredible experience.
And just to throw in there a little congratulations, Jonathan. I don't know if we told you, but Cody Collier got engaged that night.
I saw that. Oh no, I've seen it
on the
social
18th
media.
green.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
So congrats, Cody.
Yeah. I think my favorite thing about you guys going on this trip is that I woke up and I knew you guys were an hour behind. And I think it's like 7:30, and I'm like, oh, it's like 6:30. I should call and see how their day's going. And sure enough, you guys were there. You're like, nothing like, getting 5 hours in advance for a 9:00 tee time. And I mean, you guys, I don't know if the sun had come up quite yet whenever I first FaceTime, and you guys were still ready to go. And I was honestly, Brandon, because one, you have been so generous with Best Ball and Robby and encouraging us. My first day of sort of retirement, I got to go play Old Barnwell. We've been over there for different events. You got us connected to Carne whenever we went over to Scotland and played in Ireland. And so this for me was one of those moments, like whenever you get your kids something really good for Christmas and you know that they're just going to love it. That was the way I felt about Landmand for you. Oh man.
He'll get back here in a second.
The Augusta Internet has...
The Augusta Internet. This is where the magic of editing comes in. Jonathan, you froze there.
I know, but I could hear you guys. Yeah. That's all right. It was a good soliloquy. You'll be able to cut it out.
Well, thank you for the comment. I mean, I love what you guys do, and I heard part of what you were saying, and I love what you're doing. Plus, I mean, 2 great people. I think we all have a lot of fun together. And so hopefully many more times going forward. I'm sorry I missed the Carne trip, unfortunately, due to flight delays. But you probably had a better time without me and got treated better without me being there. So.
Not at all. We did get treated very well. Let's jump into that. You went on and one of the things, again, I admire sometimes with you, sometimes from a distance, is some of these trips that you go on. Sometimes with family, sometimes with just a group of friends. Last year, in 2024, you went with your wife and 3 other couples to Ireland.
Yes.
And kind of toured around, played a number of different courses. So let's talk about that, just the kind of experience of doing that with couples and the golf aspect. But then let's jump into Carne and why you fell in love with that place.
Yeah. A lot to unpack there. And so, it was a great trip. My first time to Ireland. My wife's maiden name, she's a Sullivan, and kind of second generation coming over from Ireland. So I knew there was no way I was going to go without bringing her with me, and going together, which is what I wanted to do and share that with her anyways. On top of that, she doesn't play golf. So it was going to be, in a way, a challenge, but it really turned out to be a blessing. So 4 couples, the 4 guys golf, the 4 wives do not. And it was, a lot of guys go to Ireland and they're going to play 14 rounds in 12 days, and they speed all around the country. And that sounds like a fun time. I know, Jonathan, not to you, but to me, it sounds like a lot of fun. But we had to kind of manage it and set up a an itinerary that was kind of golf a day, off a day, kind of going back and forth. And we wanted to try and stay places, for at least 2, maybe 3 nights. I think that trip, was maybe a 8 or 9 day trip. So we certainly didn't see all the courses. But you got to leave something to go back to, right? I mean, you can't do it all at once. And did kind of your traditional, starting in the Southwest Killarney, and then we kind of went up the West Coast. It was important to me, and when I set the itinerary, I had heard a lot about Carne, and it was a place I was very intrigued to see. So this is, I'll say, all kind of northwest Ireland. And so if you know, God, I'm trying to think of all the little town is called Belmullet, but the way I like to describe it is when you're in Carne and it's right there on the west coast, that if you just started swimming, it's like next stop's New York. I mean, it is that far west, and not a lot of courses around it. But what it intrigued me was kind of the story about how Carne was created. And the love is the community that's behind it. The local kind of farmers and community were the ones working on the course. They didn't design it, but they would come out on the weekends with backhoes to kind of cut out some greens and kind of clear the land. So it was really kind of this community effort and involvement. They struggled sometimes during COVID. As a lot of courses did. And Tom Coyne is actually one who, in his book, had been to Carne, and he had a relationship with it. And so he was instrumental in kind of getting some international kind of recognition to Carne, or people aware of their situation. And that really spawned this international membership concept. And it was people that would be able to become international members, and it really helped the course support itself kind of through the COVID, and now it's flourishing. And so it was the story I tell about Carne and how I ended up there. So, and it's fun to say, I joined a course in Ireland. It's not the international membership. It's not prohibitively expensive. There are no dues, and there's no any capital calls or capital campaign contributions. So it's not as cool. Yeah, I mean, it is cool, but it's I don't want people to think, it's like, oh, he's joining clubs all over the world. But this one was important to me. After our first round there, we're sitting in the clubhouse, and this husband and wife are eating next to us. And they just lean over, they say, did you enjoy your round? Oh, it was this incredible place. And they said, we really just want to thank you for coming out here. And traveling all this way, to see Carne. We love it, and it's so special, and it's so happy to share it with you. You don't normally kind of get that feel, I think, when you're at, other clubs, that people are appreciative of you being there and wanting to share it with you. I say the owner, I don't quite fully understand the Irish golf structure, but Jerry Maguire, I refer to him as the owner, but he runs Carne, and the general manager, Fiona. I met them when I was there that time, and they were just so nice, and telling great stories, and again, appreciative. And that culture is kind of what spurred me to really want to be a part of Carne. I think it's something that I knew would give me motivation to get back, more regularly than I probably would. And it was an opportunity to support that community and that course. And it's a place where you feel welcome. And for me, that's the experience of golf. That can parlay into my membership or involvement at Old Barnwell, places I enjoyed being, and is that community. So it's not always on those trips, tick off the biggest course that you can or the highest rated course. It's kind of finding that culture and those unique experiences. And that's kind of how I try and navigate those trips.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that, you guys went on it in September of 24. I think we were out playing at Old Barnwell in like December after that. And I kind of jokingly looked over and see your Carne head cover and said, when you going back? and you said, April, do you want to go? And now this was before Jonathan found out he got selected for the Old Car. I'm like, I don't really have a reason to go over there. And then like a few days later, Jonathan says, hey, I just got selected for this. We're going to St. Andrews. That's right around the time Brandon's going to Ireland. Let's go. And you were kind enough to continue the invitation, or still extend the invitation. Unfortunately, you had some flight delays, so Jonathan and I had to experience Carne solo. But it was a ton of fun. But again, that gives us reason to go back with you.
Yeah.
That way we can all do it together. But you're right, Fiona, Jerry, the entire staff, just the entire town. Man, what a place. Jonathan, I think, one of his favorite courses of all time, just from his experience here.
Yeah, y'all had good weather when you were there, right? Wasn't it?
We did.
Our entire trip, we had great weather.
Yeah, I did almost kill their cat. I mean, legit, this cat followed us.
Under it, right?
I had a 7-iron, not well, and the cat was 20, 30 feet in front of me, and somehow the ball went underneath the cat. If it had hit the cat, we would have been like throwing that thing in the water. I don't know, like it was. Oh, I felt so bad that I almost killed their cat.
Yeah. That cat followed us around for the entire front 9 of our second day. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Brandon, one of the other things that you've done, and we'll talk about Old Barnwell, so I'm saving a little bit more about that and just the goodness of Old Barnwell, but one of the things you did on that trip was you got to play Adair Manor, and I don't know if that was the thing that spurred you on to check off these Ryder Cup venues, but you've kind of made that a goal of, I want to play all these things. You mentioned Bethpage earlier,
yeah.
And I know you and your family were in Italy, a couple years ago, visiting your daughter who was studying abroad, and you and Jack ended up playing at Marco Simone.
Yep, that was really what started, and it was not it was certainly not a golf trip. So Lily, my oldest daughter, was studying in Florence, and so we went on the back end to kind of, when she was wrapping up, to pick her up, and then we did the obligatory kind of loop around Italy.
I mean, if you're there, you might as well.
We ended up in the last 3 days, I think 4 days, we're in Rome. And my son Jack and I, at that point, we had kind of over, seeing a lot of the ruins and the tours. And so we had, I was like, I didn't even follow it and know that the Ryder Cup was going. We're about 5 months. So this is July, and they're coming in September. So, we're coming up on the Ryder Cup. I hadn't really followed where it was going to be. So I'm kind of Google, golf around Rome. And of course, everything Marco Simone comes up. And I was like, well, let's, we took an Uber out there. We played it 2 days in a row with rental clubs, and they had the stands up, and it was, I don't know how we got on, and had that availability. So that was really the start back in 23. And then our Ireland trip in 24, since I set the schedule, I wanted to have Adair on there. And it was actually, I'm telling you what, though, to stay in the manor, and level of service, the quality, it's a great, incredible place. And the little town of Adair is really neat too. So we got to play Adair Manor, and that's where I was like, well, wow, that's 23 and 27. I've got a hole in 25. I'm not going to go up to New York and camp out in a car by myself and, just to say I've done it. So I found out you can pay a little bit more money as a package and get, a couple meals included and some swag. And if you have at least 8 people, you can schedule an event and book a tee time in advance. So I kind of put that out to the Old Barnwell community, and we got that trip together. And it's really cool is a lot of our New York members, we have a fair amount up in the Northeast, that they then supplemented around that with other courses, their memberships and places they belong. And so we had this really, really neat trip to play cool courses on Long Island, which I don't know Long Island golf that well, but when you start looking into it, it is an unbelievable amount of courses and great courses up there. And I don't mean just like, Shinnecock and those that from the PGA and the events that are held there, but every course that we played, it was amazing. And so it's a hotbed of golf that I didn't really know about. So we got 25 in. So now I've got a little time, I guess, to 29. I'll have to see if we can. I'm blanking.
Hazeltine.
Have to see if I can get up there and hear new development. So this is new. Is
breaking
youngest
news.
daughter is she's going to study abroad in Barcelona.
Oh, I was about to say, when are you going to Spain?
There you go. So I've got to at least work it's about 35 minutes northeast of Barcelona. So when we go, if we go before or after, I'm going to have to sneak over there and check off 20.
You're not influencing your kids to do internships or study abroad things in Ryder Cup locations, are you?
That's what I was thinking.
Kind of deciding between Paris and Barcelona. I might have nudged her a little bit. I don't need to go Golf National in Paris. That's already been done. So,
yeah.
I don't need to go play that.
That's funny. Very nice.
All right, we'll see. I guess Spain will put me to 31. I don't know if I go.
Yeah, well, that's the last international one scheduled right now. Then you got the Olympic Club in 33 in San Francisco, and then Congressional in 37. So got a couple years to work on those.
It's getting easier, if the U.S. is not competitive, and
that you might qualify for a team if you keep it up.
Right.
We know
they could use you to consult.
Yeah.
Take notes so that way maybe this time they know what the course is going to be like.
Yeah, course setups seem to be important. Yeah, a lot of talk about that.
Yep. Well, Brandon, a couple years ago, you told me about this course that you have joined. It hadn't even been built yet. It was in talks. And the reason you joined it was because you really believed in the owner and the mission behind it. And of course, we're talking about Old Barnwell, which is now here. They've got 18 holes. They've got the kids course open. They've just opened up the clubhouse and some cottages, and they're working on a second 18, the Gilroy. But talk about just the goodness of Old Barnwell. Nick Schreiber, Kitty, what everybody there, what they are doing in that community and for the area.
Gosh, that's trying to think of where to start. I was kind of looking for a place to play, kind of a membership, and I looked at, there's several courses around here that that are affiliated with, I'll say, causes or missions. There's a philanthropic arm of the club, and that was kind of important to me in looking around. And I was playing in a Captain's Choice, a scramble tournament, and one of the guys, kind of a friend of a friend, was playing with me, and he had the owl logo on, and I asked him about it, and he started talking about Old Barnwell and this new course outside of Aiken, and they're just kind of getting their membership going. You definitely should reach out to the guys and kind of see what it's about. And it was that kind of innocuous conversation that I then reached out to Morgan Purvis, who was kind of running the membership at that point, and Nick, and I just wanted to learn more about it, and they gave me a little bit, and then they said, "Would you like to come down and see it?" And what I found out is, because of the kind of the mission-based culture of the club, Nick and Morgan interviewed every member who joined Old Barnwell. So, you could, as a member, you could submit a name, but it would be vetted, and that sounds bad. But the goal was just to make sure it was, people understood what Old Barnwell was about, that yes, this is a golf club, but we're going to try and do a little bit more. And that really resonated with me. So when I joined, it was 7-hole preview play course, 1 through 5 and 17 and 18. And that was just such a great experience. And to see what it's become now, the accolades and the rankings of the course was never the goal of Old Barnwell. And it's just been a tremendous blessing, and kind of, it just happened. I know there's a lot of effort that went, it doesn't just happen, but the quality of the golf has been a welcome kind of addition to what really, to me, is the core of Old Barnwell, which is the mission-based culture of it. And so we support several different initiatives, the Annika Foundation, which is kind of aspiring LPGA professionals, very big into Evans Scholars. And last year, second year, I think we've had the full program in place. We actually have 2 Evans Scholars who received the scholarship, and they're at University of South Carolina. They're building an Evans Scholar House here for them, and they're tremendous people. I love every time I go out there. using a caddy, and it's always it's a unique experience. It's learning about the individual, their background. They're very interested in who they're caddying for and the people around, because I always explain it to when I bring guests down there. I said, we're going to have caddies, but understand some of them will read putts, and they'll be able to tell you a little bit about the course. But think of it this way: as we're here as much for the caddies as the caddies are for us. And so it kind of takes that relationship and flips it on its head. And so we have a director, Ed Brockner has joined Old Barnwell. He's kind of the director of missions. So they're continuing to evolve and find the programs that we really support, and to see the members behind it, and get behind it might be a mission that it's not all, but I mean, saying they support all, but they might have specific interests. There's kind of one that tugs on their heartstrings. And so you see people kind of putting in a little bit more effort, one or the other, and just to see it all, how it lifts all the missions together has been really exciting. And the culture that really, I think, starts from the top down. Nick is an incredible person, and is the most, I'd say, unassuming leader. Like, you would never know. I was there last weekend, and I was talking to one of the new employees. As we've opened up lodging and food and beverage, there's so many new people. And I was talking to one of the individuals, he was like, I had a 25-minute conversation with Nick the first time I was here. We were in Kitty's Castle, and we're just talking this and that. And we talked for 20 minutes or so. And he's like, and at the end, he asked the guy I was talking to, he's like, so do you just play here a lot, or how long have you been a member? And Nick didn't want to admit it or say anything, but just kind of, she was like, well, I'm the owner. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been here kind of interviewing for a job and didn't know I was talking to the owner, and it kind of starts there. And then you look at all the professionals, and I don't want to go through all the names because I will certainly leave somebody out, but across the board, and I've commented this, I will say Kitty Nicastro, who's the director of golf, was commenting to her, their hiring and how they find people has created an incredible culture there. And it's pervasive, from whether you're looking at agronomy and greenskeeping, the golf side of it. And I saw it this last weekend with the servers and food and beverage and lodging. It's just, I don't know how they do it, because somebody who's, we hire a lot of people, and, there are always some fit, some don't fit. I think everything there has just been incredible. So I'll probably stop there. I could be too long-winded, but I could go on and on about Old Barnwell. It's my, I'd say my happy place. That kids course you mentioned, if I go down on a Saturday and play early in the morning, and I'll go out on the kids course, and a lot of people, particularly when we didn't have lodging, the property gets kind of barren in the later afternoon. And to be out on the kids course with about 5 or 6 balls and walk those 15 holes and just keep hitting different shots and just trying different things, that's my happy space. I love to be there when the sun's going down and you just kind of got all 15 holes to yourself and just hitting it around, not really caring too much about where the ball goes.
Yeah, I would say that it checks all the boxes because it is an extremely competent, nice course.
Yeah.
And sometimes you go to places like that and the stuffiness overwhelms the golf. And it's not like that at all. I mean, they're literally there to serve the people that have come to enjoy the golf course. And as a reflection, I think you're an incredible ambassador for that, because you reflect those values as an individual, which I think speaks volumes to you, that they said, hey, we'll accept you early on, even before we even have some holes.
Like I said, some snuck under the radar. They made some mistakes. I'm sorry they got me, but they're kind of stuck with me for the moment. But
Well, I'm excited, as I know Jonathan is, but through you, and I'll point to the flag that's over my shoulder, the Old Barnwell, the Derby match play that our friends at B. Draddy have now partnered on, not only for that, but for a bigger mission there at Old Barnwell. And we could talk about that later, but it's just exciting things. I love the fact that we just talked a lot about Old Barnwell, and you didn't really talk about the golf. you talked about everything else, because that's exactly what Old Barnwell is all about. Plus, it has really good golf.
It does have good golf.
Plus, yeah.
Except for
it's PTSD if I talk too much about the golf, because that course beats me up every time I play it, but I keep going back because I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're recording this in mid-October, right before Brandon goes and does the 100-hole hike over there. So just a couple of golf holes.
Yeah.
Just a few.
The only thing that makes it difficult is that one hole that you got to walk basically up a mountain, like it's just a straight up wall to get up to the tee box. That one kills me. I don't know how.
And it's at the end. That's coming off the 16 green.
Yeah,
17.
It's fantastic. Yeah, you're tired after walking because it's an expansive course. You're tired after walking.
Well, for your benefit, and then those who might be listening who go later, there are stairs around to the left side. So if you exit off the back of 16 and kind of walk around the hill, it's a much easier traverse up with the stairs there. So
I just started bringing less clubs. That way I don't have to carry as much.
Get a caddy.
Or when you're coming across on number 5, just leave your bag there and then play 5 through 16 with whatever you carry, and then you don't have to carry your bag up the hill.
That's actually not a bad idea.
That's a pro move right there.
That's right. There's someone who's done that before. Well, Brandon, you have obviously played in some extravagant and amazing golf courses and places around the world. So this might be difficult. We always ask all of our guests, what is your most memorable golf shot?
I'm going to go with 2 because there's one I talk about the most, but I don't like to talk about. It is that dreaded, hey, you're hole in one. Have you ever gotten a hole in one? And really, I've gotten a hole in 3, which was actually I got a hole in one off on a par 3 off of a mulligan. The big debate. Do I have a hole in one? I don't know. By definition, I hit the ball once and it went in, but the score's a 3. But I still have the
routine
ball.
par.
I have the ball, still saved in a little case. I got a picture of the hole, but I don't claim to have a hole in one. So, I'll leave it at that. That's probably the one I talk about the most. I tend to focus more on the...
What's the other one?
Well, so I was playing out locally here at Fort Jackson, and my son has this... I was playing with 7 of his friends and me. I guess they couldn't find the last, so I had to fill in. So, and they have this game that's it's like a card game, okay? And you draw cards with each hole, and some of them might be like, your buddy's your caddy for this hole, he carries this, or everybody can only use odd clubs this hole, or it's a wedge party, you can only use your wedge. And you just draw different cards, and it makes for some very creative, interesting holes. And there was one that was you can only use your driver on this hole. And it happened to be, number 7. Yeah, 7 on Old Hickory. So it goes along the road. And so it's a par 5, and it's like, oh, you can only use your driver. So I hit a great drive that kind of went up to the top of the hill, and only using your driver. My next shot was 3 feet with driver off the deck on a, 95 yard par 5, and I'm there in 2 with about 3 feet. I would love to embellish the story. And as I get older, I'll probably, in revisionist history, say I made the eagle putt, because you couldn't putt. You had to use your driver. So my 3-foot putt with my driver leapt out. I ended up with a birdie with my driver. But, yeah, that was that driver off the deck to within a few feet is not something I would normally try. So that was fun.
That's a good
awesome.
That's a good hole to do that on.
Yeah, normally I'm across the road, hopefully not.
Yeah, hoping cars aren't coming by. Yep. Very nice. Well, we do this other thing. Obviously, you've listened, so you might have some answers pre-recorded. Jonathan, you want to launch off to our quick 9 here?
Yep. All right. Lots to choose from. What is the favorite course that you've played?
Well, you're right. I did kind of think through this a little bit, because otherwise it would be like, I don't know.
He's got them written down.
I mentioned before, I'm not like a big into. I'm intrigued by golf architecture, but I'm not an expert. And I also have this problem of not really remembering holes. Like I'm not one of those guys who can tell you like, oh, remember number 12 at Adair Manor? I'm like, I have to get the yardage book out, kind of flip through it. With one thing that's different is Pebble Beach. And I was fortunate, one of those closing dinners I referenced earlier that we were hosting clients at, I was able to play Pebble Beach. And this is probably 2000, it's right at 2000. So, 25 years ago. I still remember that round. I still remember the feeling of the holes as you come around to kind of 3, 4, 5, 6, and you're on the coast, and just the whole experience of being out there. So to me, that's the course that, if I remember it this long ago, it's one I want to get back to someday, that it just sticks out in my mind. It's a tremendous place.
I love it. All right. What's the bucket list course?
I really, really want to get up. Well, I want to play the old course in reverse, first of all, you two. That was an incredible story. I'll have to see if I can get in the little lottery. I really, what's intrigued me is really Cabot, Cape Breton, and going up to Nova Scotia. I know both the courses up there are pretty highly rated, but just seeing the pictures, that is probably on my bucket list, the realistic bucket list, because everyone has to leave off Augusta National because that's never going to happen. So I go with Cabot, Cape Breton.
All right.
Love it.
Best course that no one knows about.
It's a kind of a cop-out answer, but it's the one that you're playing with your friends having a good time. I mean, that's I was thinking about this, sorry, I was preparing, right? And I go back to Chastain Park in Atlanta. I haven't played it since I was young, but that's kind of where I started really when I was teaching high school, playing golf in the afternoons, or occasionally in high school going out with buddies. Got a lot of great memories there. I have no idea if it's a good course or not. It's right in the middle, kind of between Buckhead and Sandy Springs, but it's a place that I really want to get back to, and I have such great memories with my friends out there and my brother-in-laws when I come home for Christmas. To me, that's, in my play, again, no idea from it. And there's a fair number of people that do know about it because I hear it's played like a dog year round.
All right. Who's in your dream foursome?
Interesting. So I mentioned my grandfather before, and one of the, I would say, regrets is that, and it's just life that happens, is he got older and not playing golf, and I was getting older where I could play golf. They never crossed paths. So he certainly would be in my foursome. And this another one is, growing up in Atlanta, I was always a big Braves fan. And I think playing to round it out with Tom Glavine and John Smoltz.
Yes.
Because hearing all the stories about how Bobby Cox would allow them in spring training, when they'd come in at like 7 a.m., get their work in by 8, and then they were gone to play golf. They wouldn't even go to like their games or whatnot. I mean, they're not pitching in the preseason. They're like Cy Young winners. You kind of let them do what they want to do, right? But we all know John Smoltz is really good, and Glavine is. They've had great competitions. And so I think to be a part of that competition would be amazing, to play around with those guys.
I've always wanted to become a professional baseball pitcher, because you only work every 5th day. No one cares if you can hit, especially now, and you can go swing golf balls all day.
That's right.
All right. What is your walk-up song to the first tee?
I'll just go with the genre and a band, like any of the old school. And so whether it's the Black Album or One, you could do One. But going back even to some of the Kill 'Em All album, that is pregame for me in college football. And so I think, that would really kind of get the juices flowing. And I don't know if they would play that for me at Landmand. I'd probably have to come up with something different. But
No, they would definitely play that for you at Landmand, as he steps up to pipe a 340 drive. So,
Right.
All right, favorite club in the bag?
when I can hit it, I really love hitting that 2-iron off the tee. And if it's a relatively shorter par 4, it's probably the one I really like to hit the most. Harder club to hit, so it's Jeff.
And you like saying that you hit your 2-iron as far as everybody else's driver.
Well, yeah, but except when you're playing with Jonathan and he pulls out his 5-iron and hits it about 285, it's like,
That's with a lot of roll.
It's amazing.
It's a lot of roll. All right. I know that you're counting macros and that you stay. Listen, I love riding carts with you because there's always snacks. So what is your favorite snack on the course?
It is well designed, and this is the golf pro at Old Barnwell, Pat Milovich, and I are talking about. I eat a lot of nuts until almonds, but he's not really big on dense proteins during a round, So I don't like to eat during a round. I'm not a taco guy. I'm not going to be doing the bird dog or things like that. So, yeah, you're right. I pre-pack my snacks when I play. It's really a mix of almonds and a protein bar and this keto crunch that are called Catalina Crunch. That is a staple on every round. And if I'm feeling like going a little wild and crazy, the frozen Uncrustables that have thawed and are just still cold, you can't beat those. And so that's what Pat's trying to get me to eat more when I'm playing than the nuts, because he likes the quicker energy of those. So you're right. I count macros and think about all that. So no tacos, no dogs, no anything like that.
A little caveat to this: what's your eating plan for your 100-hole hike? Because that's real.
That is real, yeah. And so they say the hot snacks and drinks out there, but I think given the fact that we'll be going around multiple times, I'm bringing a cooler. I'm pretty famous for traveling with protein, so there will probably be some chicken or something like that I'll keep in the cooler. Several bags of my little golf mix that I'll have, and then electrolytes. And of course, I've thought about it.
Oh no, 100%. Yeah, I know it's planned out. Yeah.
Jonathan, I learned one of the best things about traveling with Brandon is when he's making his snacks, he will make you a bag of mixed nut, the Catalina Crunch as well. He's like, hey, I packed you some stuff. I'm like, this is awesome. Jonathan's out, Brandon's in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man. All right. Best golf course logo, or what's your favorite?
My favorite is probably Carne Golf Links. It's right over your head right there. You can kind of see the four swans. And my poor Irish friends are going to hate that I'm going to butcher the story. I'm not going to go in the whole thing, but essentially it is, those swans and the four swans are part of Irish folklore and a story about certain kings, children who were turned to rock and then will eventually come back and be turned into swans. Those rocks that make up that lore in Ireland are actually you can see them from Carne. So they took something as kind of Irish folklore and turned it into the logo and something that's close by them. So it has that meaning, plus I have an affinity and love for Carne. So a lot of great ones. That owl looks good too right next to it, but that would have been, I'll rank them one.
Good 1-2 punch right there.
Yeah. Wait till you see the Gilroy, the new course has the armadillo. So we got an armadillo out.
Yeah, that thing looks good.
That's awesome. All right, last question. Finish this sentence. The best part of golf is?
Seeing other people achieve, I'll say, great things. Like, that is the best part when you're playing with somebody, I've never been with anybody who's gotten a hole in one, but when you're playing with somebody and they hit that shot, Jonathan, that you were talking about, like that one once in a lifetime, or they shoot that score that they like, it just the enjoyment and the excitement that, to me, that's the best part of golf. And being able to just be a part of it when they achieve that is.
Yep. All about people. And you do a great job of cheering on those that have the privilege of playing with you. So
from 50 yards ahead of us, but always cheering us on.
Come on, guys, catch up.
Yeah. But when I get to the green, it's going to take me 7 shots to actually get to where you are at that point. So, then I'm catching up. So we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and we play along with it.
Yep. Man, we'd be awesome if we were all combined on a Captain's Choice team. Brandon, this has been a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you and your friendship to both Jonathan and I, and look forward to many more rounds of golf together. But I appreciate you coming on and sharing a little bit about who you are and just the golf experiences that you've had.
Y'all are a big part of those, and will continue to be into the future. So it's going to be it'll be a fun ride. We'll continue to have stories. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Well, for our friend Brandon and Jonathan, this is Robby. You guys have been listening to another episode of the Whole Story Podcast.